What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Blade Dive. Stoked to have you tuned in today. Quickly, just a couple of things. First off, I just wanted to say thanks to you for listening. We're at episode 40, and it's still hard for me to believe. This thing takes so much effort to produce. It truly does. There's a lot of coordination that has to happen, and so to have you tune in and listen, I'm so grateful. I'm looking at episode 40, scroll across as I record this even right now as a title. It's a really rad accomplishment, and I think that as an extension of the community, I'm proud to produce it, and I'm honored to have you tuned in and listening. So thank you all. Without further ado, I definitely want to thank our sponsor, Prenoth, for supporting me through all that I endure in piecing this thing together. It's an immense amount of gratitude that I have, and I will forever be grateful. Great people, great product. I love their snowcat. So, Prenoth, thank you so much. News really quick. I will be headed to Cutter's Camp in May if all things go according to plan, and we have an on-site event. Blade Dive will have a booth there. I'm so thankful to have Prenoth and Sam Magazine invite me. So if you're not signed up for that, make sure that you head over to Sam Magazine's website and book your spot, because I'm pretty sure if all things go according to plan, it'll fill up and be an awesome on-site event. I'll be talking to campers, panelists, brands. We're just going to create some awesome conversations, and I think that doing it face-to-face, man, I am definitely excited about that. My guest today, alongside my co-host Corey Tredtin, is Jeff Doran. And if you don't know Jeff and you've been living under a rock, that's okay. I just met Jeff myself this past year, and it was awesome to get to know him a little better and figure out how he works and is wired, because he is obsessed with equipment. Jeff is the owner-operator of JDB Slopeworx and has had some really big ski resort clients as of late. So we get into talking about that, how that operates, what it's like to scale up, manage those types of clientele, and network. We definitely talk about his obsession with 7.3 trucks, late 90s 7.3 trucks. We talk about his obsession also with Sushi Yoshi. We circle back to and talk about social media, how it can negatively impact your business, and what you can do to use it as a networking tool. So that was a really cool thing to digest as well. We talk a little bit about the dirt world, we talk about the snow world, and then we talk about his transition out west from Killington. It's a really fun, relaxed conversation. I enjoyed the chat. So without further ado, let's jump into episode 40 with Jeff Doran. Here we go.
Go ahead and give it the juice. Already.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another day of the Blade Dive in the virtual booth. I'm super stoked on who I've got with me today. But first and foremost, everybody was excited about the multi-episode person interview for episode 34, and I just thought it would be rad to have a co-host with me today. So I've got Corey Tredtin joining me, co-hosting episode, individual rock star for everything that is Killington, episode 29, if you haven't listened to it yet. Corey, how you doing?
Good, man. Good. How about yourself?
I'm a little tired today. I was up 130 feet in the kiddo, and cops pulling over somebody for, I would have to presume, would be a DUI. Can't go into the specifics of all that, but yeah, I'm a little tired. But I'm doing good. And who we got in the booth today, Corey?
Well, today we are lucky to have a Doorhole.
Just a Doorhole?
Yep, at Doorhole.
Copy. Jeff Doran, for anybody that doesn't know the first and last name and has been living under a rock for a period of time. He's with us in the virtual booth. Jeff, if you don't know Jeff is, he's worked at Park City. He's worked at Killington. He has his own business, excavation company. He's installed so much pipe that, man, he could probably wrap the earth twice with its length. That being said, stoked you're on the show, Jeff. Welcome, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Don't think it's quite that far yet, but that's the goal. That is the goal here. Have that much pipe in the ground.
Yeah, I was going to say, we got to at least make sure that everybody understands it's not a meter or two. You've done some serious installations as of late, so. Yeah, dude. Well, Corey, I mean, you know the deal. We kicked this thing off with a special guest question. You think we should continue that trend?
I think it's a great trend, Parker. And today, joining us would be Dave Gorman. Let's hit it.
Let's hit it. Jeff, you ready?
I am ready. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Coming at you now.
What's up, Parker? So stoked to be on Blade Dive and ask a question for my good buddy Jeff. First off, I want to say how awesome this podcast is, and I love hearing from so many cool people that have had such a profound impact on our industry. My question for Jeff is, now that you've had the opportunity to work at resorts on both sides of the country, what, if any, are the major differences that you've seen between the two? And what do you miss most about your time at Killington? Also, I think we need to talk a little bit about the Big Bear Pit and the countless times we had to pull you out from being stuck or broke down on one of our many adventures.
I mean, working for the enterprise, like, personally, I think it's totally fine. Like, I'm here to go run snowcats. That's my passion. I might feel differently if I was in a different position or trying to go a different direction with things. But like, from an operator standpoint, like, I'm in the best fleet in the entire country. Like, where the idea of a shit cat is like something with 6,000 to 8,000 hours, where other places are, that's their new equipment per se. Yeah, I mean, there's more rules and stuff than there were, but it's a little hard to compare because I've been gone this is my 5th season out here, and I know everything is changing across the game. Every resort is, at least that's owned by, we call it the big 3 or so, are all having more rules implemented, and that kind of is the way the industry is. So it's kind of slightly comparing apples to oranges, because I know, at least with talking with Corey, there are more things that are stricter back at Killington as well. And I think that is just going to be the way it is, for better or for worse. My first season, which was 2017, 2018 winter in Utah, was like record low snowfall year. And coming from the East Coast, I thought it was the best winter I've ever seen. Just because it didn't get warm, it didn't rain. I think I groomed one rain night in an entire season, versus I remember the prior season at Killington with like 80 something inches of snow in the whole year and probably 2 feet of rain interspersed throughout that. I think I was on swing shift, but worked more grave shifts because we canceled swing so much. Yeah, the weather just changes everything for the two sides, and definitely miss call it the fuckery of Killington, but didn't realize how much I missed it until didn't have it to show up to work and have no idea if I was going to be in a snowcat or a loader or an excavator or what we were going to do that night. Definitely was kind of sweet, keeping things interesting every time.
Corey speaks, highly of your skills and your groomability of different surfaces. We've covered that before. But what do you think about, like, just, in previous episodes we've mentioned that place is definitely an animal. You never really know what you're getting into. But if you could pick one thing within the fuckery that you miss, what is it?
I mean, it kind of is the all of it. It's just the not knowing. It is the complete unknown. You have no idea what kind of challenge is going to be thrown at you every single night. Like, it really, it feels good to get told, hey, here's the problem. you have all the tools that whether it's the people, the actual tools, and just your knowledge, and you get to just run with it and get something taken care of. That's kind of like, it's your baby each night sometimes.
Yeah. Well, here's a question too. First of all, how did you land at Killington? We'll go there for just a second. And Corey, I don't know if you had anything to do with that, but how in the heck did you guys end up kind of connecting, becoming bros, etc.?
I guess that happened via the peak, didn't it, CT?
Yeah, that
I guess
is definitely where I was gonna jump back to that first winter here and all the swing shift to grave shift and all that learning you had to do. But just think about how much stronger that made you. Different every night. Ice, water, rivers you had to get rid of and then bury in the morning when it froze.
Yup. Definitely don't have to do that in Utah.
You're so well rounded, Jeff.
Oh yeah. Definitely I'm not scared when it is going to rain a little bit. It's kind of whatever. Well, at least it's not an inch tonight.
Yeah. There will be no rivers. I think the first time I remember the first time that I had met you, or Troy Cheeseman was like, "Hey, there's this kid working." I mean, you were working snowmaking, weren't you?
Yeah, I was snowmaking setup when I
Yeah.
first moved there.
And Troy was like, "Oh, he likes diesels. He's got long red hair. Kind of looks like Jesus." And and he's like, he likes diesel. He's got this old diesel he runs on veggie oil. Like, he seems cool. We should hang out with him. And then we did. That was that.
Sounds like a magical meeting of the minds right there.
That is definitely a simplified version for sure.
Well, I mean, like with I don't know if Jesus had any intervention with how to avoid the bear pit, but David did mention that.
Oh, that's when we all had 4-wheelers back then. It was a pretty good crew of us, and there was one notorious mud pit that we would try and go through, and nobody ever was successful. I even had like 27 or 29-inch like big mud tires that I threw on quad of mine, on a king quad, and I still couldn't make it through. It took, I believe, did we have a winch? We had we had a wheeler hooked to a tree, hooked to a wheeler, hooked to me to get that machine out.
Wow.
Yeah, doubled down through the snatch block. Like, it was aggressive. That same pit gobbled up Big Bear, and we had to drive a tractor out to it like the next day to pull it out. Remember Mark said we had
Wasn't that was before I owned that quad though?
Yeah. That was the second Big Bear you had. The first Big Bear smoked like ridiculous, a blown gasket or head or something. Just smoked. You couldn't ride behind him. It was just a smoke show.
There was no mosquitoes around though.
It looked like Pigpen, like following him.
It was pretty bad.
It's a pretty infamous event that went down often.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had a lot of fun.
Did David participate in that? Did he get stuck?
He not. No. I don't think he ever got stuck in that one, but I believe I do have some pictures of David hooked, sitting on his 4-wheeler, which is hooked to a winch, to get him out of some other pits. Because there's not much legal riding in Vermont, but we were definitely, the Killington area had kind of the mecca of legal ATV riding.
Yeah, 40 miles of like legal riding, and then endless amounts of little side trails and pits. But even I don't even, is he talking about? He might be talking about the classic Big Bear pit. But our yard, or the house we lived at, had a pond, like a pretty shallow pond that I would call a pretty aggressive mud pit too, which had a good bottom though. You never got stuck, but that was just a daily, just to go rip around through that thing. Swamped.
That was a good post grooming. Have some beers, go spin around on the ice.
Send it.
Activity.
That
was blast.
That's rad. Well, I'm stoked that David wanted to contribute to the podcast. So shout out to David. David's got a nickname though. Like he showed up as David Gore in text message that you sent me, and then I'm seeing David Wright. So can you clarify the name? Like, what's up with that?
That is how I was introduced and know him as, even though that is his real name, David Wright. But no, he came from Gore Mountain before he started working at Killington, and that name just kind of has stuck with him ever since.
Never left.
At least in our world.
Never left. That was a college nickname, and that's going on forever. No,
I think you just reach a point in your life where like you get a nickname, and if it sticks with you for long enough, it's there forever.
Yeah, I was curious because I mean, obviously you have one. Do you have one, Corey?
Not really. Not like an official one. CT is about as close as I get.
Yeah, well,
or dad maybe like pretty close to.
Didn't Will call you that?
Dad, yeah. I get a lot of dads nowadays.
Yeah, no, but shout out to David for contributing. I was curious. I was like, well, I'm pretty sure I got the right guy. So either way, it was awesome, and I appreciate the kind words as well. I think this is amazing what we're doing, and having different folks come on and chop it up and shoot the shit and tell their story and talk about some real stuff. That's what the Blade Dive is, man.
I'm feeling it. Let's carry on. I'm excited to see where Doorhole brings us.
I'm excited as well, and I think that's why my question kind of goes here, because David's coming off of what it's kind of like to work out west, at Park City in comparison to what you've been around at Killington on the east and the difference between weather or whatever else you got. Do you think that the kind of that passion to go out west, Jeff, was because you wanted to do something like, and then we'll get into this later, but like starting your own company and being a supervisor within a department, things of that nature? Do you think that you saw room to grow and do things out there working at Park City?
Well, I kind of ended up at Park City on a slight whim. My girlfriend got a job with U.S. Ski and Snowboard out here, so my only option was Park City because they don't allow my kind at at Deer Valley.
Harsh.
No,
Parker, your question is definitely viable, but that is not why I fucking moved out here.
Yeah,
I think it's the best place he could have landed, really.
Yeah, and it's like prior to getting that job, I was like, I want to go to Tahoe. I had call it accidentally worked at Mammoth for a week. And
I would call that luck. I wouldn't call that accidental. It was time.
It was, yeah, but it was kind of an accident to be on their right place, right time. And at that point, I wanted to work at Mammoth, and we were planning on doing that. And then she got the job, and it was like, oh, I guess I'll go to Park City. And then it ended up being like kind of a slight, I guess, kind of a changing of the guard at that point, and just a lot of new supervisors, and kind of that was definitely a right place, right time to be able to step up there like as soon as I got there. And it definitely helped as well being able to come in there with a bunch of prior experience.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, loving this conversation already.
Jeffy boy,
CT,
as a Pennsylvania native, do you want to paint that picture of growing up as the Doorhole?
Yeah. Grew up central Pennsylvania, a kind of an odd area of like surrounded by farmland. Just to the east, we have big Pennsylvania coal country, but while we are surrounded by farmland, we're one of like the most expensive private schools in the nation, Bucknell University, in my hometown. So like, if I lived a couple miles farther to the west, I would have been in like the more quote unquote like redneck area. Instead, I was kind of the redneck kid in the higher education university life area growing up. Like our high school pushed heavily for going to college, which didn't really choose that route. We wanted to just become a machine operator. But no, I was definitely a wannabe farm kid. We grew up surrounded by farms. I had all sorts of toy tractors growing up, and definitely played with them. I pretended the whole house was a farm, and I think my parents knew pretty early on that I was bound to be sitting in equipment of some kind. Whether I don't think they knew it was going to be snowcats, but definitely knew I was either going to be doing construction or farming of some kind.
Jeffy, that thinking about Pennsylvania and an old story you used to tell me, but like, tell us what the best way to change a tire was at your house, or your first piece of equipment you ever bought. First piece of equipment you ever bought.
The old 1953 Clark car loader, which is a gasoline-powered Clark forklift, real small, short ass on it for loading up boxcars in the 1950s. But that definitely really changed the game on tire changing. You know, big Milwaukee half-inch drive cordless impact gun and a forklift really, you might as well have had a lift in the outside.
I was gonna say, that's awesome.
Like, yeah, I'm like, people have definitely given me shit. Like, why do you want forklifts so bad? I'm like, you don't realize how much you can use a forklift until you have the forklift there. And it's literally everything.
Yeah, you've literally, every single place we've ever lived, probably weekly, was like, we really gotta get a forklift. You know how much easier it would be to unload this this grill from the truck? Like, we can just lift it up. Yeah, it would be way easier if we had a forklift.
Damn straight.
Oh man, I remember driving a forklift down the road from warehouse to warehouse. Previous job that I held. But it was awkward. Yeah. Everybody was like, "What the?" And then most people were like, "Oh yeah, it's Tennessee. No worries. That's normal."
Running a forklift was literally my first on the books job.
Where were you? Certified forklift operator, Jeff?
I was not certified forklift operator. I was still 16.
Parker, stop the recording.
No, let it go.
Won't say where it's at. I think the statute of limitations has run up on that.
You're also like 14, but
yeah, no, but just working at a lumber yard. Like, when I say lumber yard, like, they had a saw that cuts like the actual entire bundle of lumber to size. They were wholesaling to modular home industry, so it's not like we were picking out individual 2x4s. We were dealing with truckloads of stuff at a time, and we actually used a big off-road forklift to shuttle rail cars around, hook a chain to them, and drag them down the track so we could unload them at the right spot.
Sick.
Definitely an interesting job. Pretty fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's an awesome job.
Yeah, I was pretty happy, 16 years old, getting to do that.
Yeah.
I don't even think I really know this story, but how did you end up? I guess I kind of know, but tell us how you ended up in Vermont. Because
this is a story that I want to know. Yeah.
Well, I originally in high school wanted to become a mechanical engineer, and then I almost didn't make it through pre-calc class. So kind of knew that was a little bit off the table for me, and I kind of knew no matter what, if I did go to college, I at least wanted to take one gap year. And I really, really wanted to drive snowcats during that gap year. And so after high school, I think, what did I do? I worked at my uncle's farm for a little bit down in south central Pennsylvania, and then I was also doing some under the table hotshot hauling work. Just for anybody who doesn't know, hotshotting is like a 1 3/4 1 ton pickup trucks hauling smaller loads, and I was going kind of all over with that, and I booked a load from Murfreesboro, Tennessee in 1954, Farmall Super MTA, restored. Drove down there, picked that up, and hauled that to Holton, Maine, which is like the last town on I-95 before you'd hit Canada. And then picked up a skid steer for my cousin cousin of my uncle whose farm I was working at in somewhere in down East Maine, I think Blue Hill, Maine. And then that's how I funded my driving to all the job fairs in Vermont.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go down the route of like, yeah, the truck broke down and I pulled over here and I liked where I was, and so I got a job.
So thinking about that, I can't believe like nothing went wrong in that trip. I was driving this is a 1997 truck this is 2009. Like, yeah, knock on. I mean, nothing went wrong on that trip. I didn't even blow a tire out.
I feel like you're about to be really sarcastic right here.
He still drives a 1997 truck.
I just drive a different 1997 truck.
7.3, right?
Now,
yes.
And now he has everything he needs in the toolbox in the back, like spare what is this, PDMI, or like all the parts you would need. All the shit that would break is in the toolbox of that truck, along with every tool to change it.
Holy shit! You got a photo of that?
I mean, it's more of just a truck. There's like, fuel filters in the back seat, spare computer behind in the back seat, like just general stuff.
What else did you get? A fuel pump, an oil pump,
fuel pump, starter,
alternator,
serpentine belt, the pulleys, because I got straight into Nebraska this year because of a $30 pulley.
Jesus. Yeah, we need to get a picture of this. This is amazing. You get a parts room in your toolbox.
It's amazing how little space it takes up.
Can I just say? Okay. I was just going real quick, but like random tangent. But like replacing an oil filter on a Toyota is a pain in the ass. I very much value like diesel vehicles for the placement and accessibility to certain I would say consistently replaced pieces. Like the oil filter on a earlier generation, and this is why I like those older trucks too, but like a 2007 to 2008 Chevy 2500, that is my dream truck. Fucking love that truck. It's easy to replace glow plugs. It's easy to replace fuel filters. It's easy to replace the oil filter. Easy to do belt work. Yeah, headlights.
2 pins and you're in.
And done.
Yeah.
Dude, done. Inner fender well liner, pop, 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 all the clips come out, and you got everything right there on the passenger side. The driver's side's a little bit more of a pain in the ass. But, dude, I love that. I don't know if that's why you have that older truck, Jeff, but it might be.
It is one of the reasons. If you know how to work on it, like, it's really not that bad. And if you keep up on it and you know your shit about a rig, like, I would hop in that truck today and drive it all the way across the country and drive it all the way back. Like, I could leave right now and be happy.
I'm going to throw
outside of an oil change.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a random question at you from Peyton McCormick. Peyton's actually, he's an operator, will be this season up at Mount Bachelor, so stoked to have gotten to know him a little bit better. But Peyton wants to know about the 7.3 and why. Why the 7.3? You kind of just answered it, but if you got any more detail on it, what do you got?
Well, it's not the 7.3 that I love. It's that body style truck.
Ah.
Corey,
did you know that?
Yeah. No, everybody who knows the OBS. This is endless.
This is the source of endless jokes.
We would be driving down the road and the brakes would slam. He's like, "Oh, OBS! Look at that thing! It's sick." Like, what? Yeah.
Some people love certain stuff, and 1990s Ford trucks. I just got a thing for them. I truly would prefer a Cummins in there.
Well, I could be completely wrong, but I think Peyton also has a 7.3 as well. Do you know? Have you met Peyton?
I have not met Peyton.
Dude knows his shit. Yeah, I'm excited to be around him this season up there at the mountain for sure. I think he's going to wear gray, but I believe he also has a 7.3. I think his is blue and white maybe, but it's a sick looking truck, and yeah, he's had it for a while. I don't know. I got to check my intel before I air that, but I'm almost positive he has a 7.3 as well.
That is that's sweet. Tell him he can hit me up if he's got any diagnostic problems, because I've seen a lot of stuff go wrong.
Jeffy could start charging hourly or minutely, talking people through 7.3 problems.
You think you could start your own podcast about 1997?
There's
I think this,
there is already a podcast for these trucks.
But there's not a Doorhole podcast.
There is not a Doorhole podcast, but these guys are a little more knowledgeable than me.
so Jeffy, all this talk, it makes me think about our buddy Joe Kruglak, and he has a couple questions for you.
All right, Himmy.
Here we go.
Doorhole. It's Joe Kruglak checking in. Wanted to offer up a question, contribute to the Blade Dive here. Stoked to hear that you got an episode coming out. Really excited to listen to it. Got 2 questions for you. I'm curious to see how many miles between, I don't even know how many it is, but between all the 7.3 Power Stroke trucks you've had, how many miles combined do you think you've got? And how many times have you been coast to coast over the course of the last decade or so since I've met you? Seems like every year you're going back and forth at least 4 or 5 times doing something, hauling or going on a trip or looking at old sluices and dozers and abandoned shit. And the other one, man, is how many nights in a row is too many nights in a row to get Sushi Yoshi delivered to your snowcat at the bottom of the mountain? Cheers, man. I'm excited to listen to the episode and hope to hear what the other boys ask you and hear what you got to say, man. It's been a while. Hopefully I'll see you soon.
Oh, crack-a-lack. Oh, what a dude.
He definitely the bro.
Oh, crack-a-lack.
Dope questions, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was hitting.
He's making me do some math here.
1 + 1.
200,000 on the blue one.
Quick math.
100,000 on Centurion.
God.
This one I've done 50,000. Or no, almost. Yeah.
And this is just in cross-country trips.
No, this is 100. I've done 100,000 on the current truck since I bought it. So like 50. I did like 50,000 miles this year. Cross-country trips. Each way, like if one way was one trip, 10 to 12, probably. I mean, I drove back and forth across the country twice this year.
Wow.
So far, still got a couple weeks.
I'm not doing that again. That was the one for Gore's wedding was a pretty brutal drive.
I think maybe you and I have talked about this. Like, maybe I had a dream. I don't know, but routes that you've taken, like 70, 40, 70 up to 80, what have you. Like, it's a pretty. You got some options, but you probably have one option that you stick to. I don't know.
I mean, like being in the Park City area, I am 11 turns from my parents' house in Pennsylvania. Yeah. 11 turns.
Wow.
We grew up right off Interstate 80. So like 80 is my normal route, but I've driven 70 all the way across, and I've taken 40 all the way across from Asheville all the way to, well, I've been on 40 all the way from 95 or whatever that intersects. Maybe it's 77 or 81, all the way to LA. That was actually a trip pre-COVID, or the COVID year. Lindsay and I, my girlfriend, were planning on going to Chicago and actually starting Route 66 there and doing every single existing mile of Route 66.
Wow, that'd be cool.
But then once like all the hotels and stuff were shut down, we're like, well, we're not going to do this because part of the charm of that trip is staying at all the cool old hotels and stuff along the route. So we're like, we're going to wait until things are a little different before we do that trip.
Yeah, I definitely hated driving 40. I loved driving 70. At least there was like a little bit of a reward when you got into that valley of Colorado prior to coming into Denver and you could see the mountains. Versus where like 40, you're like, this just blows. This is not fun.
There's a lot of nothingness once you leave the Texas Panhandle and you hit New Mexico. There's a lot of nothing.
Oh, there's a whole lot of nothingness until you get to Flagstaff, which I've already gone on the record in saying that I love the fact that there's a Del Taco there. Anyway,
Del Taco.
That was a total reward.
Beto's is the best Mexican fast food that you can get.
Now, I never stated that shit was the best Mexican food in the world. I was just saying that.
No, Mexican fast food.
Oh, okay.
And Del Taco sounds horrible.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm in Vermont, so there's no. I don't have any wager in this.
Do you got a cookout up there in Vermont?
We have no.
What do you
No.
got?
I was
the Mad Taco.
visited Jeff like a month ago or whatever. I ate Mexican every single day I was there because I just had to get my fill.
No,
It's kind of like Jeff. It's kind of like Jeff coming to Vermont. Like he probably eats Chinese food every day he's here.
Exactly. And to answer Joe's question, there is not too many days in a row. The only day that's too many in a row is if you run out of money.
Now, what was the name of the sushi restaurant again? Sushi
Sushi Yoshi.
Sushi Yoshi. Okay, gotcha. And
yeah.
Like
You have to say-
still in
it's like-
business, Sushi Yoshi.
Still in business.
Rad.
3 locations.
Yep.
Shit. I'm missing
It's
out.
all in Vermont. Well, New York, but New York.
Lake George, New York. Lindsay has flown home with Sushi Yoshi. For me, I overnighted Sushi Yoshi to Aspen while she was there. Troy brought Sushi Yoshi to a friend of ours' wedding, Jordan Amy. Friend Nikki brought Yoshi from Vermont to a wedding for Gorman's wedding in New York. Like there's a known love of me and Sushi Yoshi,
This
and
is
just Chinese food in general, because West Coast Chinese food sucks.
This is connoisseur of the Chinese food, but this kid would sit at the bar and order the to-go soup because it had like a few more ounces in it, and would eat the to-go cup at the bar because the soup was a bigger serving.
Yeah, see, now the parts in the back of the truck make sense too. I mean, that all aligns the personality traits there. Getting the most out of everything that you possibly can, dude.
Yeah. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
I think the best that I've ever done was, I remember Gabe Westberg and Chris Ingham ordering Domino's or whatever the pizza place was at the bottom of Park City. And that was after they finished grooming, obviously, and they're waiting on their pizza. And they would just, the fucking delivery driver would just roll up into the parking lot and give them a pizza. And then I remember Eric Rosenwald doing the same thing. And I was like, dude, I'm just like, swing shift is the shit. Great, we don't have time to order the pizza, and plus they're not even open anyway. But yeah, I remember that vividly. I was like, that is dope. But so instead of pizza, you're doing sushi to the snowcat.
Yeah, I would usually go with Chinese, but over the sushi. The sushi, I'm more of a in restaurant kind of guy.
Copy.
Like sushi was definitely not overnighted across the country.
Okay, that's good clarification to know. I was like, man, so it's on ice. Or it's what are you running? Dry ice? What do you got there to keep that sushi fresh?
Yeah. We don't even fuck with that. There's
just a lot of duct tape and plastic bags for the Chinese food. But
yeah, we're like a pallet's worth of saran wrap on one order.
Yeah. So Corey, did you bring Sushi Yoshi over to Utah when you visited recently?
No, but that was because I had the very last minute plane ticket. But there was definitely a question. It was
stated. I was like,
I'm not stinking out a plane with Chinese food. I can't do that. I can't be that guy.
What's that in your carry-on bag, sir? Don't worry about it.
That's General Tso's and pork fried rice, but it's wrapped in saran wrap and duct tape. We're gonna have to take you around back and check it out.
Yeah, that's not feasible. You can't bring that on the plane, sir. Well, like, I was stoked that Joe wanted to contribute. Like, he hit me up, and I mean, what am I gonna do? Say no? Like, hell no. Like, come on, bring it. But I loved his questions because I've seen it happen. I've just never really been able to participate in the luxury of it coming to the machine.
Yeah, that was definitely a luxury, and it kind of sucks. The grocery store now in Heber is not open until midnight anymore, so I got to get all my no more last minute microwave meals on the way into work. Got to plan ahead.
You have to plan ahead. That's weird.
Challenging thing.
It sounds like something you do for the 7-3, but why aren't you doing it for lunch, man?
Well, I do that now.
Life.
Yeah.
Well, no, like, this is another good segue too, because I want to get into talking about Slopeworx and what that's all about. But before we do that, I want to know quickly cat controls or deer controls and why in your machine if you had to choose one or the other, and justify the answer. I'm sure there's a reason.
Cat controls, because if you're in any other piece of equipment, I mean any other piece of like equipment that has some sort of loader-ish arm in the front, your right hand is forward and backwards for up and down, and right and left for your bucket. Why would you switch that in just one machine? If you're in a skid steer, your left hand moves you forward and backwards, and left and right, exact same thing when you go into an excavator. Your bucket is moving forward and backwards with your left hand, and you are curling and uncurling your bucket with your right hand. Makes no sense to change it up for just one machine.
Yeah, so
Jeff.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Corey.
Yeah, I just say aside from that, Jeff, let's break that down one more tier and say just on a hydraulic side, your two heaviest functions would be your swing and your boom lift. So splitting those up on over two valves, is obviously you're utilizing every bit of hydraulic force by doing your two biggest motions over two valves instead of the deer control being your two biggest motions when you're baling dirt being on one valve. Now it's nice to like swing dirt one-handed and have your sippy cup or your phone in your right hand, but it's definitely faster. There's no doubt that the cat controls are faster baling.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Why do people like deer controls? Is it because they can have their sippy cup in their hand?
I think because
I
started on deer controls.
Maybe. I mean, I was going to let you go there, but I was going to say that. I think if you go with one and you like it, it's kind of hard to convert to the new. I don't know. Or the different. I don't know.
I'm a convert.
You're a convert?
The company that I worked for, like before I was working for the resort in the summer, his stuff was all deer. And then I went to the resort and everything was cat, and I switched, and talking to some of the older guys, I realized like, yeah, it's definitely faster. But also I think that the deer control guys are sippy cup guys. So I'm just going to throw that out there.
Spit platoons, maybe spit cups, and not necessarily just sippy cups. I don't know.
Like, and there is older stuff like our buddy Nick Cizik, who we groomed with for a little bit. He owns a contracting company down there, and they have some older John Deere backhoes that like your only option is John Deere controls.
Yeah,
that is how they are built. You can't change it unless you're going to undo a lot of hydraulic stuff. So that's what he knows.
Do you think it was smart on the manufacturer's part? Because I mean, I do, but there's the option to switch them, in some machines. Do you think that that's because originally a lot of equipment, or operators were used to deer controls, and they made their machines to the point to where it was like, hey, we realize that people are operating on this hydraulic style. We want to give them the option to still operate on that style or come over to cat.
I mean, yeah, I see why the companies did it. I think they should have just said, no, you just learn the right setting.
I think it's rad. I think it's rad that they have the option to go over there. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I feel like operating deer controls today. I'm going to go this way. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like breaking something today. Let me flip this lever.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like it's the same way with the Park Pro settings.
Okay.
Like,
yeah, come on. Are you really going there?
I wanted to go for it.
Are you go? I mean, we can go there, but the hydraulics just don't break. Like if a button breaks, you can get home.
No. Okay,
floppy,
I am not saying that I like the idea that you can do the flippy floppy, but I'm saying in terms of a standard operating, like how you run it normally, should just be the way it came from the factory.
You're a purist, Jeff. You're a purist. You don't like options?
I do. Actually, I don't like options. If I go to a restaurant, I want that menu to have like 5 different things at the most. Like diners.
Man, Sushi Yoshi is not stoked right now.
No, Sushi Yoshi's got 2 sides of a menu.
There's
not a lot going on. There's a lot of actions, but
they're an exception to the rule. But I
Okay.
just think about like Long Island, like just like the diner that you see in the East Coast, where you're like, holy shit, dude! It's
You
like
read-
fine print menu,
I'm bi-
like 4 different pages. You're like, what? What do I want? Like,
They
how
op-
do the cooks even know how to make all this stuff?
Their walk-ins like 60 feet long.
Keep going. I want you to keep going. Like, unpack that for us a little bit. I know that you don't like options, but what are you trying to get at?
That it was just built, like, it was designed perfectly from the factory.
In somebody's mind, it was designed perfectly.
For me, it's the lack of thumb movement. The way it comes from the factory, the way you can use your PlayStation button to change your depth and do your proportional curl and do your speed curl.
I love that
So
you called it a PlayStation button. Sorry, go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, we're jump back to snowcats. I thought we were still on excavators.
I thought we were too, but I was trying to get him to connect the dots between what it is to have 2 options for controls, because that is minimal. You know, like you're talking about being a minimalist for options. Like there's 2, but there's
Yeah, that is a minimal option.
I mean,
there is no other. Yeah, the thing with the deer versus cat is just like I could understand if there wasn't a million other pieces of equipment that are essentially running cat controls. Every other piece of equipment in the world runs cat controls, excluding a telehandler that you press a button normally to run your fork curl, and your left and right is your in and out on your boom. Like,
are we talking like old, like
I think he's
bobcats
talking,
and stuff? Because but bobcats, you're taking 2 hands and doing this. You're kicking with your feet.
Okay, that's we're talking about joystick controlled heavy equipment.
That's
loaders, excavators, tractors, like skid steers, joystick skid steers. We're talking about all that stuff. Bobcat controls are a whole different.
Yeah, somebody was drunk designing that for sure.
Somebody was like, okay, like the driving of it,
like
great. You're like zero turn lawnmower. Okay, this makes total sense. And then you're like feet, and then you have enough gravel or just like general material like come back over your bucket, and just like stuff gets in the cab. Before you know it, like there is no finesse on that machine because those fucking linkages and valves are so fucked up.
Hey, I'm glad I asked you to weigh in on whether or not you would pick one over the other. I definitely think that it's cool that there is an option to switch, but I myself have never really understood why either. So I again, like, just my 2 cents. I think it's cool they exist, but I appreciate the cat controls.
For sure. And to that avail, no driving with your hands on excavators.
Can we get we should get a photo. Somebody get a photo. If you can get a photo of Doorhole driving his excavator with his hands on the sticks for the pedals, that would be amazing.
$20.
$20 if you can get it. Corey, should we do the push road questions of the day?
That is a great idea. Let's dive into those push road questions. You got a pretty good list here, so I'm excited to see what we got going on.
The push road question of the day.
That is right. The push road questions of the day. Love this part of the show. Okay, we're going to start off with some good ones. You ready, Doorhole?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Jeff.
I love how you just shortened that to door.
Yeah, people have changed the end of it, but nobody's just said door.
It's awesome. That's so good. I call him the hole or hole hoff.
I'm going to call him the door. You ready, door?
The door.
That just rolled off the tongue. I appreciated that. Yeah.
Crushing.
So our first push road question comes from Mr. Kevin Soller. Kevin's got a couple, so we're going to send all of them. Have mercy on your soul. Yeah, may God have mercy on your soul for these. I don't know. I think you're going to make it out alive.
All right.
Okay, so
Kevin.
here we go. So Kevin wants to know, do you miss Thursdays with me? And what did you learn from those specific hard-taught lessons?
Oh man, Thursdays with Kevin. So when we were working on the Wasatch Peaks project there, my first day with him was a Thursday, and oh man, he rode my ass so hard about literally every single thing that I was doing. Every single thing that I was doing. So that kind of became a running joke whenever he'd give me a bunch of shit. That is it not Thursday? Sorry, didn't mean to give you a bunch of shit. He just helped me learn a lot more on just that style of earth moving that we were doing, and just the bigger picture, planning ahead on it, just really how to be efficient on it.
I think that would probably be my experience with Kevin too. And you guys were probably able to work together well because you're both gingers.
Yeah, we did get along really well. We had a blast working there.
Tight. It sounds like you made it out of that alive. What's that?
Yeah, no, definitely made it out alive.
Almost alive.
Kevin's like me, and sometimes in wanting to argue in like I call it a good way of like has a reason. There's always a reason behind like the statement of like, why is this control better? Well, here's why.
Yeah.
Like not just like a hey, well you dumb fuck, why'd you don't do it that way? For no reason.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, dude, I think it's awesome that you guys were able to connect. Kevin's next question is, what's with the Crocs?
Why not wear Crocs?
My wife kind of gives me she says that I should have a pair too. You go outside all the time. You should just not have to put on your shoes. You should have some Crocs. I'm like, I don't know.
Your wife is 100% right.
She's 100% right? Okay.
Yeah.
What color are yours?
The ones I have now are gray. I had camo Crocs for a while, but fun fact about Crocs: if you leave them in a hot car with no tint on like 100-degree day, they will shrink 2 sizes.
Really?
So, needless to say, those Crocs don't fit.
Bummer.
Corey, I will
Corey, do you own Crocs?
I'm gonna jump on that. So I hated these things. I would loathe these. Give him so much shit about them. And then last summer I think I went somewhere. I needed like water shoes, and somebody had a pair of Crocs. Like, use these, they're great. And I went in the water with them. Like the way that they float really good. You can almost like use them as a floaty for your feet. But like they're kind of the best for that. They're best in the house. I brought them in the cat when I was winching because you can just throw them on. They're not nearly half as sweaty as boots. You gotta strap them to your bag to get to the cat, but then like jumping out to change picks or whatever, you just kick them on, flip them on, slide into them, get out, change your pick, get back in, all good. It's kind of nice. I'm a convert for sure.
Yeah, great all around shoe, and like for going to going to the beach or going to the lake or river or whatever, like they're great because like I don't walk around in gravel the same amount I did as a kid, and that shit hurts when you're walking on sharp rocks and stuff. But it's great to just like have Crocs on, have something that like you can go jump somewhere and then climb out of the water and walk back up and not be like worried about just shredding your feet.
I was gonna say, what is the alternative would be my question to Kevin. So I'm going to ask you that. What would be the alternative to Crocs if you don't have Crocs? Like, what would you use? Because he wants to know why the Crocs, so do I. I just put on tennis shoes or boots or sandals. I've rocked the Chacos before. But you're saying I don't know. Like, what's the alternative?
It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm just like trying to go to the store, it's like flip-flops. But like other stuff, like if I'm going to wrench on the truck or just like going to do stuff outside, it's probably just a pair of boots, just like a pair of slip-on Westerns. And then like wintertime is my only time when I'll reduce the croc usage, go more for the muck boot world.
Copy. Okay, so it's good to know that there all are alternatives, and I'll have to try on a pair of Crocs. Kevin, sorry if I'm selling out.
You would love them.
They're definitely worth it.
That's who you need to sponsor the show is like Crocs and muck boots.
Crocs and muck boots.
Because like,
but everybody else would say like PBR.
PBR would be acceptable too.
But again,
in addition.
Oh man, Corey, what else we got from Kevin?
Well, Jeffy, Kevin wanted to know one other question. He was wondering, where did the nickname Spaghetti Jeff come from?
That came from Kevin. I forget how that exactly. Well, somehow we get to talking about spaghetti and spaghetti sandwiches, which are a thing. And I thought I invented greatness, but turns out Eminem actually sells spaghetti sandwiches at his new restaurant in Detroit. Kind of makes me sad, but
Is it the angel hair though? Is the real question.
Of course, there's no reason to buy any other type of pasta.
I wouldn't
like
either.
from normal spaghetti. It's angel hair.
Interesting. Is that
It's deep?
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a different route. I was kind of, I don't know.
Literally about. I don't know how the topic of spaghetti became so popular during our.
I was wondering if it was like an inside ginger joke. Or
I did too.
That's
what.
missing.
Yeah, I thought I was not picking something up there. I thought it was an inside ginger joke.
Hmm.
You might have to ask Kevin for the direct clarification on that one, because
that's episode 48. It's coming up.
Clarification of Spaghetti Jeff. So essentially, it has something to do with Eminem.
No. We were talking about spaghetti and sandwiches, and somehow came up. I came up with what I thought was an original idea, which was a spaghetti and meatballs as a sandwich using garlic bread as the bread.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
He thought he was inventing it.
I thought I invented it. Turns out that's kind of a Midwest deal or whatever. Like that was a staple of Eminem's childhood, apparently.
Yeah, I would go. There's nothing wrong with that. That sounds amazing.
No. Yeah, it was amazing.
Might have one for lunch myself. Speaking of lunch, Jeffy boy, at Mike Boof, your old buddy Buffalo asks, what would you do for some Sushi Yoshi right now? And what would you get specifically?
Oh, I mean, I'd hop in and just drive across the country. Screw work tonight.
It's only 3,000.
Only 3,000 miles.
Yeah, Corey, I got a job there for a couple of days when I get there, right?
Yeah, we got you.
All right.
Need to do.
Perfect. Yeah.
What are you getting though? Like what number? Like where are we at in this?
We're getting 2 to 4 egg rolls, shrimp tempura roll, probably yellowfish roll, crab rangoons, 1 to 2 orders of them, boneless spare ribs,
soup to go.
Definitely some hot and sour soup to go. I mean,
free wings.
We would go there between 3 and 6 to definitely get a couple orders. What other place has General Tso's flavored wings? None that I have been to.
Like sauce on the wing.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah. I don't think I've never experienced that anywhere else. It is good.
I'm gonna hit you with one from Mr. Risky Biscuits himself.
Old Brado.
Big fan of that Instagram handle, by the way. If you're not following Risky Biscuits, check him out. He wants to know how much content for cat pictures you got stacked up in that head of yours for the season. Feel like on the regular we're seeing about 2 a day so far, which is dope. And on sidebar really quick, I know this is how in the hell are you not putting footprints in every photo?
What do you mean? You haven't figured that one out yet?
No, you probably walk around it, but I mean, like, what's your methodology?
Yeah. Walk around it, like know where you're gonna take the picture from. Definitely some climbing over the tracks or tiller or something to make it work. You know, you can walk in your track line and stuff, no problem. But it's a little exercise.
I honestly forgot we were even on a Snowcat podcast. Like I thought we were on Diners and Dives or something. Like I didn't know where we were headed.
This is the Blade Dive food and old truck edition.
It's dope. People. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I definitely understand the methodology now and the effort behind it. I kind of equate it to phantom pooping that Lucas Wallette was discussing.
I've heard about that one before. That's besides from Lucas.
Yeah.
It's always I was curious if anybody's actually pulled that off.
I've heard the myth myself also, but never seen it. So we got one more question here for you from Nate _Wandry. Sweet. So he's asking, is detail work hooked up in a winch still a go for you?
It depends. I've only had to do that twice, and I think one of the times was actually just to show somebody how to do something. It was a lift ramp, like on a unload that was just a bull wheel, so there was no like getting in underneath stuff where you're gonna go smash the winch against some stuff. But I mean, as a general idea, I'd say no.
It's definitely weird doing it. I've like we do a lot of that, like building race courses or just building like stuff in general. But that pressure, the
lift detail work, I try and make a no. I mean, all the other stuff like the details of the trail are the details of the trail. You just got to do.
Yeah, we're gonna tell you like making something flat or level or grading it. You know, like when you're on the winch, that every angle that you know in a free cat or every place where the blade touches the ground is different with that backpack that you're wearing or how much pressure you have on the cable or what direction the cable's pulling. Those extra forces are like kind of wild to learn.
Oh, for sure. It is crazy how much that winch can play with you either for or against you as you're doing stuff.
So you're going to go with if you have to do it, you're in, but if
you have to do it, you're in, but like there's very few spots that I can think of where you could even do it. Because like there's a lot of spots where if you get down that far, your cable is something you want to be facing and watching, making sure it is not doing something you don't want it to do.
Copy.
Because that's not a situation anybody wants to be in. Of my cable, that's not the side I came down on that on. That's on an opposite side. That's a problem.
This is definitely not the tree that I put my cable in originally, or the chair.
I promise.
The chair is not where I parked my cable.
Definitely plenty happy doing sideways stuff like pushing out runs and things in the winch, and that's a place where you really learn how the pressures mess with you when you're working with your boom actually off to your side all the time or in very weird spots and trying to figure out how to make it happen.
Yeah.
Even just running a windrow, like you can do that in your sleep in the free cat, and then with just even with the winch not hooked up, the way where it hits the ground and everything, it's all different.
Hey, Jeff.
Parker.
Thanks for being a part of the Push Road Questions of the Day, Door.
My pleasure.
Road question of the day.
I think there's a really awesome area that I want to cover with you. So I do think that I'm going to revisit it with Troy's question. So I'm going to go ahead and play it for you now.
Hey, Parker. Just want to say thanks. Appreciate the opportunity to join You and Jeff today in the virtual booth. Jeffy boy, Doorhole. Got a couple questions for you. One, kind of curious how you got into your new Slopeworx venture over in Utah. And also, being a Pennsylvania native, what led you to make the decision to move up to Vermont and start your career in the snow industry? I know we've had a lot of fun working together over the years, and things have changed for both of us. But if you could elaborate on how you ended up there, because it all ties into where you're at today. And also, and I believe you asked Corey this, going back to the blueberry harvesting days, what would your best memory or biggest takeaway be from the blueberry fields over in Maine? Anyway, take care, stay safe. Until next time, bud.
Oh yeah. So Slopeworx was kind of always an idea in my mind in the next like five
5
or
to
so
10.
year, I'd say 5 to 10 year plan. And then it kind of just sort of happened. Got a buddy, Sean Darling, down at Eagle Point, aka Park Fab, who I've been homies with for a while. We actually, everything ties back, lots of things tie back to the old trucks. He owned a 97 7.3, and when I bought my current truck in New Mexico and flew out to buy it, he offered, we had been following each other on Instagram, he offered to let me swing by his house for a day, crash there for the night, and I ordered intake exhaust tuner for the truck and installed it in his garage in when he was still living in outside of Colorado Springs. But he's now at Eagle Point in outside of Beaver, Utah, and they wanted to do some snowmaking this year, and it was kind of like really set it off like, okay, well, we at least have one client. We can, you know, me, Brandon, Dan, we can make this work if we have one client. That's at least our guaranteed. And it's like, well, if we can get the funds and everything together, let's do this. So made it happen, and sure as shit, we had way more work than we planned by the end of it.
Well, first of all, it takes courage to go out on a venture like that. Did you ever look at it as kind of being a bit of an entrepreneur? And did you have to seek funding? And this is all the stuff that like you don't have to get into, I guess, if you don't want to, but it is one of the subjects that I was stoked to cover with Dougie Graham. He's, doing a lot of the same stuff. Maybe I would say starting a business, same thing. Who his clientele are may be different, but it was really cool to hear him talk about what it was to succeed, fail, kind of put your head out there on a chopping block for a reputation if you did fuck up, and how to maintain good books in a business. All those things are definitely difficult, man. So I don't know if you have any insight on that of what it was like for you to. You mentioned you started up with some folks and you had one client and you're moving towards growing. I would have to assume, or scaling it and getting bigger. But what was it like? Because I guess my question is, it's really easy to talk about an idea. It's very hard to do it. So
Yeah.
I don't know where your head was at. What were some of your struggles maybe creating that business, that brand?
Definitely one of the biggest struggles is just like, well, once it's going, is working capital. There is, you just need it, and it is so hard. That it has been, the biggest struggle is you just go and you got to spend a lot of money to make any money pretty much, and you end up, going through. Your bank account gets very high to very low to very high to very low, and you hope it's going to end up decent at the end of the year, pretty much. But I mean, we're not doing. A lot of people start off with like a mini X and doing some stuff. And we had 5 excavators going at one point. We had a 35-ton machine on rent, 2 200 series on rent. Like, we had a lot of stuff. So, that was definitely kind of scary to know that you got that much stuff out that you got to make sure you can get paid for by the end of the job when you deal with, payroll and making sure your guys get paid at the end of the day. The owners are the first ones to not get something.
Like how many weeks?
You know,
I mean, how many weeks did you not pay yourself? Like you and Brandon didn't pay yourself. Well, when I was there, you guys were to that point where you're like, well, we're not getting checks this week.
Yeah, and it's not because you're not completely, totally broke per se, but it's like when you're doing, you see guys who do smaller jobs, you see them talk lots about they're talking about guys who do like homeowner stuff and everything. They're always complaining about the customer didn't pay. We're talking $2,000 to $5,000 jobs. We're doing jobs that are $20,000 to $100,000 jobs, and at least we know that the client is going to pay us. But when the most of that stuff is on net 30, you burn through. You've spent all of your money by the time that next check comes in.
Yeah, and diesel every day. Diesel bills, 100 gallons a day, and then your employees, your rent on the machine, your insurance. Those bills don't stop.
No, they don't, and so that's really the hardest thing is, you're trying to keep yourself afloat personally and in the business at the same time, because it wasn't something I was totally planning on doing right then, but it was also like, well, the opportunity is there, just gonna try and make it work somehow.
There's really two people that I've spoken to so far about this on the show, but you said yourself earlier, it's not like you went to university or college and you've got this fancy understanding of what it is to operate a business, but you've got the understanding of what it is that you need to execute, and then who and how you can create clientele, and then following through on a job based on how good you are at operating equipment. It's not simple, but there are all these other facets behind the scenes that have to happen that I'm sure most people are really enjoying hearing you unpack and talk about, because it's not like you go, hey, let's start a business, and then you snap your fingers and you've got everything you need right there in front of you. Like, seeking out all of that is quite difficult, and it requires networking for sure.
Yeah, this year definitely kind of made it feel pretty fruitful, I guess, of all my willingness to just go bullshit with anybody and everybody. Like, it definitely led to some work. But on the point of not going to college or whatever, I don't know if I would have needed to go to college for it, but definitely learning a lot of the business stuff kind of more the hard way a little bit.
Sure, you spent all last winter, just every time I talked to you during the day, if you weren't at work, you were sitting on that computer doing estimates or Excel sheets or whatever, and budgeting.
And to that point, like, none of that stuff stops during the summer, and kind of without knowing how much work we had, you can't bring on people just thinking you're gonna get a bunch of work. So it definitely was a little bit challenging towards the end of trying to just do it all, like, because we just had too much work for what we had for people, and still trying to do all the business end of things. And I think that was one of our biggest shortcomings, was the actual business side of things and the communication with clients and things like that. Like, and it was a good eye opener, because it didn't end in complete failure. We were able to, it's not like we just pissed a bunch of people off and never work for anybody again. No, we can learn from that, and now we see exactly what we need to do next year to make everything better and smoother.
I don't know. I get excited about talking about this stuff because this is real life, and beyond the books and beyond the bullshitting and beyond the networking, you've got a house, you've got a girlfriend, you've got things that you want to do personally. You want to go out to dinner. I don't know what you want to do personally. I mean, snowmobile, four-wheel, enjoy the community, all those different things. You sometimes push a lot of that to the side when you're making an effort like this, and maybe you own the equipment outright, maybe you don't. There's a whole other. I mean, there's just so much to me that is always intriguing about how people get from idea to follow through and execution, and then here is this thing that's out there, and what is it worth? And
But when it comes to like the networking stuff, like I've talked with other people about it, and I feel really adamant about it. Like knowing one of my partners, Dan's, like he's got much more of the business side of things squared away, and he knew the people to talk to for our accounting and our bookkeeping and all this stuff. Like personally, didn't have to go set up the LLC and all that stuff. Like there's personal development people who talk about like one of the important things in succeeding is delegating stuff. I am not that person. That's great. That's delegated. I don't have to deal with it. I'd say, hey, here's the numbers. Here's where we're at. Make up a bill. You deal with making sure they're paid. You pay the rental invoices. I just make the call. Say, hey, Mike, I need a hammer for this machine. I'm gonna pick it up. Can I pick it up then? He sends a bill. I don't deal with it. I just make sure that like the bill is accurate for the amount of days or usage we had on it. And like that's like I think it does. Some of that cost us. It did cost us money, more money than if we did it ourselves. But there's always the question of, well, did it actually cost us more money? Because maybe we would have been too overwhelmed with that and fucked something up and actually spent the same amount of money on some sort of other failure. Anyways, and at least now, you don't have to have that failure that might have happened.
Do you think that I mean, this might be a bit of a stretch, but was creating something like Slopeworx a means to have a bit of a sustainable life out in a place where you're at right now in Heber Park City? Yes
and no. I guess it was a means to try and maximize what I love to do. To be able to be like, okay, well, I already, especially if you ask my girlfriend or Corey, like, I like to work a lot. Partially just because I love heavy equipment. So at least doing this was like, okay, well, you're going to work a lot, but like the return is just more than a set hourly rate. Hopefully the return could be having a better place to live. The return could be having the amount of land that I want and my dream shop and all that kind of stuff, versus just like, okay, well, maybe I'll get that when I'm 45, 50.
Or owning an excavator. I mean, just like something like that revolutionizes everything. Unloading firewood or whatever.
Definitely when we got our first machine, like it was definitely felt kind of weird to be like, wow, this, like, I know it's not mine, but like I'm the one paying a rental bill on this every month. Paying diesel fuel, or we are both, me, Brandon and Dan, like, it definitely was a weird feeling, for sure. It's even a more weird feeling when like, oh, so that's why a boss gets so angry if something breaks. Shit, stuff's really fucking expensive.
Got it.
Was it really okay? So like, but let's just name them, man. Like you've had some pretty rad clients.
Yeah, we did work for Eagle Point. We built a cross-kart track in Monticello Motor Club. That was in New York, which those things are so much fucking fun. And Chris Duplessis is one of the best drivers I've ever seen. He makes it look so easy on literally anything. He was testing it before the track was smooth enough to run cross carts on a Polaris General, and this thing is like so fucking sideways. You are holding the fuck on the entire time with him. He is just like smiling on his face like a little kid.
Damn.
Yeah, that was a blast. Oh yeah, we get to ride around in a tank. That was a pretty good rain day. A 1960s Rolls Royce Vietnam era tank.
Wow.
Smashing some trees down.
Yeah, a lot of videos of trees dying that day.
Yeah, that was a blast. What else did we work? Did work at Park City, Woodward Park City, and Sleeping Giant outside of Cody, Wyoming, and in between there and Yellowstone.
Wow.
And
okay. And that's year one?
That's year one.
Dude, like...
And all of it has to do with, I mean, it really does deal with networking. Like, Todd Rudis, one of my former grooming managers, he became a sales guy for TA, and he was able to help get us work at Sleeping Giant, you know, help get us the stuff at Park City, working with, helping build Woodward initially, got me in with Tom and Benny at Woodward Park City. It's all about just like keeping in touch and networking with those people, and always trying to make a good impression, whether or not you are there as an employee for somebody else, or if you're there as a contractor. Like, because I did not think that I would be going back to Woodward Park City as my own contractor ever.
Yeah, that's quite the accomplishment, man. I truly, I was grateful that Troy asked the question, and then I wanted to really expand on it. Just, the challenges and what is the overall goal, and what were some of the things that you had to realize up front that you were going to have to get better at, and some of the things that you had to make an investment in, either monetarily or with your time, in order for something to succeed,
Luckily, everything construction-wise can be rented.
Mm.
It is a great thing, though.
It's a good point to make, yeah.
So, granted, it is always cheaper to own in the long run, but I mean, fucking excavators are expensive. Like, to own them, like, you're $250,000, pretty much, for a new 200 series.
Yeah.
Especially right now with the price of everything. So it is nice to be able to just rent whatever you need. And something that is also nice too, like, most of it is kind of, this business is kind of a means, in a way, of my lifestyle. My lifestyle is tinkering with stuff, playing with toys and heavy equipment. Like, so many of the things now that I like was doing already, like, that I could actually see profit, versus just like before I was just spending money on tools. Now I'm spending money on tools that are now a write-off and that have have other purposes.
Plus, you can tell everybody you're working when we know you're not. You're just playing.
Heavy equipment is play to me.
Yeah, I think
recreation, paid recreation.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some people that just love sitting in equipment. Like, that's why I like working those stupid long hours. Like, it's push snow around. Like, personally, I would rather sit in a machine and push snow around than sit on my couch.
Mm.
It's more fun to me. Like, the little bit of like video games and stuff I played, granted this was like early 2000s, like, it was like farming stuff.
Zelda had nothing on Snowcat.
I sadly was not Snowcat, but even still, I'd rather go outside. I mean, granted, like, it depends on what the fuck I'm doing mechanically, but like, I'd rather go outside and tinker on stuff.
Yeah,
like I probably wouldn't even have a TV if I had a big enough shop to work in.
Mm.
Why would I?
Yeah.
I can go out and hang out in my shop and go do stuff.
Yep.
Like, that sounds great. And this business gives a reason. It gives the ability and the reason to have it.
Do you see do you see people coming, or did you have anybody coming up to you going, Yo, like, I mean, because you obviously, did you know Benny McGinnis before getting out to Park City?
I did not. I met him when he started at Woodward.
Okay, so and anybody that you ever met or that you knew, I guess I should go that route. Like anybody that you knew along the way, like you were working at Park City and you probably knew some of those cats that were at that place during the summer, and they were like, "Dude, you got your own business now." Like, holy shit, like,
Yeah,
what's up with that? Like, you got a business card? Tell me some stories.
yeah. I was surprised to have people calling and asking about like work possibilities.
Yeah,
I guess I would say I don't think this is probably true in Jeff's case, but we wanted to like dive into say burnout on that.
yeah,
Having your business be your recreation. I mean, I've certainly found myself like not liking snowcat stuff, um, and having to find new, after I don't know how 16 or 17 years in it, like finding new things that excite me or being inspired by other people's excitement for it, or whether that's training new people or even like the Instagram, seeing other people have a love for it and kind of reminding me of like what the love is. So I guess like the question just should be like, do you see a danger in having your passion be your business? And or not, maybe not your passion but your recreation, because I'm the same way. Like I would rather take something apart or tinker, mess around with something in the yard than watch TV. But then when you try to make money in that too, I guess I'm just wondering what you think about that.
I would say yes overall, but I would also say like we are trying to grow this business, and there are shitty parts of it and shitty parts of jobs and stuff. Like hopefully we're at a point where those can be delegated to other people to kind of prevent the burnout on it.
mm.
Like, I want to be at a point where we're talking about is like doing more of the project management side of things, which is something I'm okay at right now. I think I need a lot more work and learning on it, but that also gives me like a new way to be challenged in it on something that is slightly outside of my wheelhouse a little bit.
Yeah.
And kind of still keep it fresh and like, won't get then going and running a piece of equipment, if it's just showing up at the job site after hours and we just, hey, I just need to backfill like 100 feet of trench. Okay, cool. Just gonna hop in here, put some tunes on, and fucking go. I didn't deal with digging all those utility crossings there and all that stress. I dealt with my stress. My stress came from another way, but like then the equipment can become a way still to put me in my happy place and relieve the stress, because I might not be in it every day, but I'll still be involved in it.
Right, or you're taking like the less stressful job, whether you're just dozing out a pile or something, or backfilling.
Yeah, just transferring my stress, because I'm not going to say that the project management is going to be all a cakewalk.
No, it's a new kind of stress.
It's going to be, it's just going to be a different kind of stress.
That would be like your job, your work would be like, say, the project managing something that's super challenging, and then your recreation side would be after hours or whatever. You're still still working, but you're doing something that you're good at. You don't really have to think about it. You put on a podcast. I mean, maybe you put on the Blade Dive episode 29 and you just listen to that guy speak.
I actually prefer to just call the in-person episode there. But to like, I mean, but equipment is also my recreation, but I do have recreation like outside of it, like I'm not making money snowmobiling. I'm not making money four-wheeling. Like those are actually truly recreational.
I thought we talked about putting that stuff on the business, writing off those pieces. Had to go check out this place.
You need some places to go check out, and then they can be. I think you can get burnt out in literally anything.
Yes,
you're
took
doing
the words
no matter.
right out of my mouth. Yeah,
And and sometimes it's you, like sometimes it's other people's attitudes. Like I've been burnt out on in a snowcat before because of other people's attitudes.
That
Not that
100%. I'm right there with you on that.
yeah, like their burnout is making me burn out.
Or their negative attitude is making me burn out. It's like, man, I don't even want to go to work today.
Well, sometimes I think there are some people who are just fucking negative as fuck in general, but there are also people who their burnout becomes a negative attitude. Like I have noticed that when I have become burnt out in a cat, I then get a negative attitude.
I've wanted to send. I wanted to send myself home without pay sometimes. I'm just like, I need to seriously, or at least not talk to anybody and put this on somebody else, because this is bad. This is embarrassing, you know.
Yeah, I think you don't realize how your negative attitude is affecting others sometimes. Sometimes you just don't even realize what your negative attitude actually is, that it is that negative.
Yeah, what's the word? You're you're triggering people through like your tone and your aura you're giving off there a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Your delivery. There you go. Maybe that's a better way.
But I think sometimes you just don't know even that you're being that negative. Like it doesn't seem negative to you.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, and I feel like that's kind of a hard situation because you don't even know how bad you're being.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I underestimate when I am negative how negative I actually am.
Do you feel like companies kind of could help in people not being that way or coming out of that? I don't know. Maybe you both got a 2 cents on that one, but I just, like I mentioned to you, last night, like companies doing other things besides throwing pizza parties and fun little get-togethers with food. And whether or not that is a way that they kind of look at skirting oh yeah, we did something. And I think that's great that they do offer stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, because I like my pizza just like everybody else does. But I think that vibe.
No sushi.
Was that sushi?
Yeah. No Sushi Yoshi, but
yeah. But like vibe and attitude totally start from the top. I don't know. Somebody may completely disagree with me there, and that's cool if they do. But I think that if you can figure out how to get help or realize that you're not in a good place and that you need to kind of send yourself home, that you mentioned, that's I don't know if that was self-taught by you or if that was. I think that's a hell of an idea.
It's definitely something that, to be clear, I've never left because of a bad attitude. I've tried to shield. I mean, I still need to make some money, but I've definitely like caught myself. And yeah, as you know, the longer you do it, the more you realize, or people point it out to you. I mean, I think it's important that, I've certainly learned that it is important to have people who check you. I mean, I think. Just everybody's just like, oh, you're doing great, when you're really not doing good at all. Like, it's kind of hard to have a conversation and be like, hey, you're kind of sucking, but or you have a shit attitude. I mean, I've definitely, that's something that takes, you got to learn that, and also like be comfortable saying it and also receiving it. I mean, not everybody's gonna receive it very well. Jeff's favorite thing is when I tell him he needs to calm the fuck down.
Received so well. It's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it usually sends him into a further spiral.
Yeah, I don't know really quite how companies can combat that, because
I think it's like a leadership though, right? Like if you have a good leader in a position, or somebody who, like would say that, like the company can throw a pool party or pizza party or pay everybody $100,000 a year, but I don't know, is money really the answer? I mean, in the industry, like, yeah, it's hard industry, but I think you got to have good people, good leaders, no matter what.
Good people, good leaders, and like I think there's a mentality, and this is every fucking industry. The grass is greener on the other side. See people who are negative about like, oh, how bad it is. Like, well, it's not that bad if you look elsewhere. Like,
compared to what? Yeah.
yeah. Like, okay, well, yeah. It's not that. It sucks compared to 20 years ago cowboy days. Okay, well, there's nowhere else that's 20 years ago cowboy days, and if they are, they're running BR 275s as their nicest cat. So would you rather not have the cowboy days and have money that's being thrown at you for new machines, or cowboy days and old stuff? I'm gonna go with the new machines. Sounds great, because I can go be a cowboy in my own personal life.
Well, talk to me about that too, because training is something that and we hit it a lot on the podcast, but maybe combining what we were discussing offline, you and I, what makes a good fleet operator, and maybe training in line with that.
I definitely, the willingness to learn, also the willingness to get out and ride your stuff. Like, I know it's hard at a resort that grooms, like, just does pat grooming all the time, but if you're at a spot where you can get where it's you or just you and another person on a run, and you can try and remember that spot where you kind of festered there, where your turnaround spot was, all the stuff that could be a problem, and ride it as hard as you can. Come ripping down a head wall and hardest edge you can through your turnaround. Did you feel it? Did you eat shit? Like, correlating, it took me a little bit to correlate what I saw at night in my mirrors into how that rode during the day. Because if everybody wanted to leave constant perfection, nobody would get anything done. If you wanted it to always look perfect in your mirrors, you never would actually get anything done. But if you can learn what is okay and what is not okay, you can become a better operator, because you can choose your battles. Because sometimes, as you know, with snow, like, it is a one-shot opportunity on something. Like,
100%, yeah.
Yeah, like learning, like, okay, this is the stopping point. That's fine, that's acceptable. Like, that will make you, I feel like, a better operator in the long run, because nobody wants to call somebody and be like, why the fuck aren't you done yet? Nobody wants to be the person who's asking why the fuck aren't they done yet. And you can sometimes avoid that because you're like, oh, well, sweet, that will work for tonight. That's as good as the snow condition is allowing for it to happen, and it's safe and a rideable product that some people are going to be able to enjoy the next day.
It's probably the biggest thing between dirt and snow, right? Is like snow, you get a chance every night, and dirt, really, you do it once or twice and kind of walk away.
Which can also be, that's a frustrating thing in the dirt world, in construction world in general, when you see things that you're like, oh, dude, we have one chance. We have one chance right now to do this and do it right. One chance. This ain't a run that's just going to get bumped up the next day and we'll fucking try again.
It'll melt all out in a couple months and we'll forget about it.
Yep. Yeah, you don't get that opportunity in dirt. I've like equated it. It's like grooming is like, to the dirt world, it's like if you had a parking lot and every single day, like, you went to go grade out a parking lot, and people would park on it the next day, and like sometimes you would get given good clay, sometimes you get given a road base, sometimes you'd get given just boulders, like, every single day, and then people come and destroy all your work and you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it comes to. And you've got to have that parking lot graded every single day by a certain time, no matter what.
In 8 hours.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
trailer load of riprap, ready, go.
Yep.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
And sometimes the parking lot is smaller than you hoped, because that's all you can get done.
Today we're getting 6 cars in a 60 lot.
I don't know if there is an actual best memory of there, because that was everything about that. Since I was with like Troy and Corey, like every single thing about that job was fun. Even the shitty parts were fun somehow. Like every single fucking thing. But the fact that we were drinking beer and shit was amazing. We had Troy perfected me opening the door, and he would toss me a beer.
I think that's the video. Yeah.
And they're actually waters. They're waters. Don't worry about that. They're waters. I should preface by saying that they're not beer. They're waters. We perfected that, and also like that tractor needs to keep moving. So we also perfected, we both knew how to set the harvester up and what looked like a good line, and we could swap equipment without having to stop the harvester. So
Wow.
like I'd get out, I'd hop in the loader, and usually because I had to take a shit somewhere, I'd take the loader, go take a shit, come back, because Troy ran harvester for a season or two, and then he wanted to switch to running loader or wake a forklift, and so he did that. But it was awesome because I had somebody who knew how to run the harvester as well, who could take over if I had some business to take care of,
dude,
so to speak. But it was so much fun up there because like Maine is awesome, and that they don't they allow ATVs on the roads. Like I rode my wheeler to the gas station. I could go get pizza on my wheeler. Like we had a really fun time going out to this abandoned power plant on a wheeler ride. I mean, this wheeler ride was all day, and like we got back at like midnight.
Dude.
We went fucking far, and it was actually ended up being right before this power plant got torn down. It was they originally built to burn peat at the peat bog there.
Crazy.
And that ended up being a failure, and they burned it down. But it was really cool to go check this old power plant out at night. And I just remember the drive back. Maine has like the worst fog ever. And it was such thick fog, like right to the ground, but it hadn't rained in so long. Everything was dusty. And we were riding back, and the moisture was all over your goggles, and then the mud. It was like just this constant fucking muddy goggles for miles and miles and miles of fucking dirt road.
Dude.
It was a fucking gnarly drive home. And we had probably had a lot of waters at that point.
That's specifically their waters.
Yeah, there was probably a lot of waters consumed by that point in the night. I mean, that whole situation was just a fucking blast, because we all had VHF radios. We just shoot the shit all day and pick berries, and I'd eat berries. And I do remember Corey narrating National Geographic. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh yeah.
They narrate the animals.
Oh yeah. David Attenborough.
Yes.
Right,
yes.
what we've got here.
He's like, what we got here is a wild ginger bear in its natural habitat. As I'm just at the back of the tractor, I just like fix something, and I'm just raking fucking berries into my mouth. we did the math. If I had 20 breakdowns or like reasons to get out of the tractor per day, and I ate 5 handfuls of berries a day over a 30-day stretch, I would have eaten at least 150 pounds of blueberries.
God, dude, that's heavy.
So Jeffy, we've talked a lot about the equipment world that you live in, but I was kind of wondering, outside of that, what would you say defines you?
It is kind of a hard question when mostly what I do is the equipment world. But I'd probably say like music. Like, you know, I played in band and stuff growing up in high school. I've always been like, started going to Warped Tour at 7th grade, and my mom dropped me off in Camden, New Jersey for my first Warped Tour. So it's like always been a part of my life. And where I grew up in PA, we lived close to New York City, Philadelphia, a couple smaller towns that had big venues, and Pittsburgh. So like and also like Baltimore, DC area was like all within the range that you could go to shows in. So that was like very big part of my high school career, was just going to see shows. And still, I love finding new music and new stuff to listen to.
Very cool. I had no idea. That music is that big of an influence in your life. That's rad.
Yeah, I don't play drums anymore. I wish I did, but I definitely I gave up on the dreams of being a rock star. But no, it's still definitely a big part of my life. I mean, used to go to like music festivals and stuff a fair amount when I was living in Vermont. Only gone to one or two since I've been here, but still always sweet listening to stuff. The cat and new stuff, new obscure stuff.
New obscure stuff. I wouldn't have pegged you as a Warped Tour guy. So I think that's rad.
My birthday a couple years ago, I saw Taking Back Sunday in Connecticut. I flew across the country to go to a birthday show.
Damn.
Oh yeah, like my favorite band, RX Bandits. I followed for like 6 shows in a row. Seen them like a dozen times or so. Like, yeah, that was a huge part of my life growing up. You wouldn't drop your kids off in Camden, New Jersey when they're like, what, you're 12 years old in 7th grade? Different era back then, I guess, because that was that was 2002.
Yeah, Corey, I just, again, like wrapping everything up and just spending time with both you and Jeff, I just wanted to say thanks so much for being a co-host with me on the Blade Dive. It's something that we haven't done before, and it's been a pleasure. And I know that you've got a work day that you got to jump into. But again, thanks so much for co-hosting with me, man. It's awesome.
Of course, man. It was awesome. It was a great time. Jeffy boy, thanks for hanging out with us. And Parker, thank you for keeping this podcast rolling and doing the whole gig. It's been awesome. Loving and enjoying listening to everything and everybody you've had on. Look forward to future episodes.
I want to know why the bell pepper, and why do you always seem to eat red ones? Because that's what I've noticed when you put it out there for the world to see. And also, true or false, it's also called a capsicum.
Why the bell pepper? Because they're just fucking delicious. Like, they're just really good. Probably one of my favorite, definitely one of my like favorite fruits or veggies out there. And they're not always red. I do mix it up, and as you may have noticed, I can be cheap about some stuff. Definitely going for whichever ones happen to be on sale. And red peppers are also the most common ones around. So like when I'm, traveling places that are on the road, like it's the most likely pepper for me to find if I'm going to find a pepper. That is a true statement. They are called a capsicum.
Correct. That is true. The statement is true. They are also called a capsicum. It's awesome when my wife is like, it's not a pepper, it's a capsicum. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Forgot about that. That's a beautiful name. I'd rather call it a capsicum.
Maybe I'll start calling them that.
Dude, do it. You should totally post a story saying that you brought your capsicum tonight. And I guarantee you that people will be like, what the fuck is a capsicum?
Yes, they will.
You should do it. Do it tonight.
I will try and remember tonight. Post something.
Hey, I've got some intel. I've got some intel here. Is Will Conroy in the next room?
He was.
I'm gonna call him right now.
4.
Will.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me? You got Parker and Doorhole. What's up, dude?
What's going on, guys?
Oh, it's going, man. Just lots of awesome conversation, impromptu shit going down. It's been rad.
I'd love to hear it. Love to hear it.
Yeah, man.
We all know Jeffy Boy can hold a conversation. So,
well, hey, Will, I know that you got a day to either chill and do something before you start producing amazing marketing content for Park City and you stop driving a snowcat. Or, and I know that Jeff's got to get some sleep and I got a day too, but I got some intel that you may have a question for Mr. Doorhole.
Yeah, that was a great segue, actually. So my question for Jeff is, how many more acres a night do you think you could groom if social media didn't exist?
Ooh.
So this is a 2-part question. That was
Shade.
not the serious part. You don't have to answer that, but I think it's a good point in a discussion of where obviously we're all involved with social media. Social media is defining a lot of things that we do now. So, you as a business owner, what do you think are, what's a way to balance the positive and negative impacts of social media? Because, we all know it can be addicting. It can be, kind of tough to deal with sometimes at certain points. I know it is for me, maybe not for everybody, but, and then it's a great way also, and it has been for me this way too, to meet people, make some business contacts, advertise your business. So how do you think about that balance when you go about it?
So I think from a construction company side of things, not a trail construction side of things, is what you post in what you put out there. Like, you see it all the time with any photo that like guys like Eric Jumper or BuildWit put out there. Like, somebody's always going there to like nitpick something and like making sure there isn't something that's like glaring on it that like somebody can, well, why is this guy in a cherry picker 30 feet off the ground without any sort of fall protection on it?
Right.
Making sure you don't like incriminate yourself against something.
So hard park, so hard park photos are totally okay.
Yes.
Copy.
You mean like bucket on the ground, everything?
Yeah, I mean like hard parked. If you look at that hashtag, like hard parked photos, I give Ben Finn shit about it all the time because whenever he posts a photo, he puts the snowcat in front of the sunset, or the sunrise. But other people will come back and say that his snowcat's in the way. Like, what's up with ruining the photo? There's time management involved in all of that, but it's just hilarious. And like, I love Will's question because it's come up on the podcast before, but not from the sense of like a business owner's point of view and how productive you can be and where's the worth in trying to advertise for yourself or get additional clients and finding the balance of consuming too much of it while doing that. This is a deep blade dive there, man.
Yeah, I think about it every day, man, to be honest.
You thought about it yesterday when you walked in and you're like, man, fucking Instagram is so addicting. And I feel the same way because I personally feel like social media and like mindless scrolling is used as like an instant distraction per se from like just something that you just don't want to deal with. Like, I think about like rolling up to a job site and it's just fucking raining and muddy and it's going to be cold and you're like, fuck, stroll through for an extra 10 minutes. I mean, and what sucks is you look at it and you're like, there was actually something I could have done on my phone that would have helped me in this situation. Like, there was an email that I could have done. There was a phone call I could have made. There was something, but somehow you just always end up in it back there, and it's so fucking hard. But at the same, it's so hard because you don't want to cut it all off. Like, if I didn't have the business and like didn't really give a shit, like it would be so easy to just be like, fuck it, don't care, like it's off. But like when you get work and you see things come from it, you're like, fuck. But it's so, and I haven't gotten good at the balance.
Just if I could throw my 2 cents in real quick.
Do it.
I I know for a fact that I've gotten a lot of business for my trail building company through Instagram, and I kind of informally ask people a lot how they heard about us.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's went to your Instagram page, saw that you did this work here, and there's other things too. But yeah, I mean, it's invaluable, I think, in a certain way. And especially with like mountain bike trails, it's, so visually appealing, like pump tracks and stuff really are like eye turning if you have a good picture of them. So yeah, for my business, it's definitely a thing. But I feel similarly too. It's like my least favorite thing going on and doing it, and especially when it feels forced and you're like another canned caption with another canned picture, but it produces results.
Yeah,
can't argue with that.
Yeah, I love it when I can actually see the hard proof that, wow, yeah, we had this many people visit the website and we had 2 people send us a message, things like that. I love that. When that happens and I can justify my time being on it. But yeah, I would say 50% of the time at least, it's on it to produce content that I don't necessarily see an ROI on, but I know that there is a consistency of a message that's super important and a community to just be proud of being a part of. But it's so hard. God, it's so hard to justify the time. Anyway, sorry.
I think it's impossible to justify the time. And I say that because how long are you looking at for ROI? And I bring that up in like the Sean Darling Eagle Point thing. That whole thing started back in spring of 2017. That's when we met up off of Instagram. 2017. It's now 2021 that I did a job for. That's where it's like, well, how do you even look at the ROI? Because like there could be people that you're talking to now that you might not see the actual ROI for another 4 years. You just don't know. Like it's all those relationships. To me, I feel like it's just invaluable.
It's definitely intangible. I think, and that's a risk you take as a business owner too, Jeff, right? Like your future income is based on you spending time now, investing time now. And like last year, I watched you sit on the couch for hours and hours and hours and do all the costs of the jobs and stuff and do out planning and stress up and down. And, that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah.
Not to hijack your conversation.
No, it's all good. Like, yeah, you gotta.
It's great that you've hijacked the conversation, Will. I love it.
I think you gotta look at ROI, like direct ROIs on, and they're easily quantifiable on equipment. Okay, takes this many hours until this machine's paid off. Cool, easy. But like when it comes to networking and social media and stuff like that, like it's just so hard because like while it's impossible both to measure truly how much it's helping you, and it's also impossible to measure how much it's you doing it is not hurting you. That on the flip side of it, like you have no idea what not putting that stuff out would actually be doing. Where would you be at?
Or how much it's impacting you yourself negatively.
There you go.
They have metrics to understand the clicks and the website visits, but there's nothing other than your phone giving you an alert saying, "Hey, you spent an average of 4 hours a day on Instagram last week." Like,
fuck that.
That's not a great way.
No.
Yeah. No.
Well,
and part of it is like, I mean, Will, I think your world definitely has more of like the social media kind of thing impacting you for getting work and stuff, whereas my contracting world is definitely more of the word of mouth, right place, right time kind of deal on it, because it's so much more niche industry. And then when you go to like the other stuff, I mean, some there are plenty of projects that are literally be the lowest bid, be the lowest responsible bidder. That's all. Doesn't matter about Instagram or anything. It just matters you're the lowest responsible bidder.
This has been awesome. Will, thanks so much for your question, man.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, guys. Nice to talk with you both. Jeff, I'll see you in a few minutes.
Sounds good. I'll see you, Will.
All right. Bye, guys.
Where do you think the future of the snow industry is headed? If you were to position it from like equipment or resorts, employees, sustainability, lifestyle, living. I don't know. You could just take it so many different directions. Folks have taken it multiple ways, but what is your 2 cents on the future of the snow industry? And maybe, I mean, throw in the dirt world too if you want to.
Don't get me wrong. I love the sound of the turbo spooling. It's fucking awesome. Sounds amazing. But like, I remember sometime in middle school doing some book report, and there's always old books in your school, and one of them was like from the 40s, and they mentioned batteries for like flashlights, and like, oh, you'll never be able to just carry around like a flashlight kind of thing. It's impossible. Look what we have now.
Dude, it's there's
like what we think is impossible now, some will make people laugh in the future. Currently, right now, if you were to say, I need an electric snowcat tomorrow, and I need to, no, it's not going to work. 3 years from now, that could be completely the norm. Who knows what fucking breakthrough is going to happen there? Are we going to be forklifting battery packs at the change of our shift instead of fueling up? He's going to have a guy on a forklift swapping out the batteries on cats.
There's so much. There's snowmaking machines. What kind of surface it's even going to be in the future? Is it indoors? I don't know. There's so many different ways you could talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like. When I think of like the ski industry, I still think of it as the snow industry. Like, I think that's a totally different world we're talking about. Like, I think of it as the ski industry, the snow industry, what we know. Snowcats or some sort of machinery to move snow around, actual snow. Like, I think it's a different world if we're talking about fake snow year round on some sort of hill.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I've enjoyed every minute of this because having Corey involved and having him tap out so he can get up to the mountain and go operate a piece of equipment was just to have him for the little time that we did to co-host with me was awesome. But as you have seen, Jeff, it's very much an effort to produce something like this, especially when I try to involve and you try to involve other people within the community, because that's what it is. It's an effort, and so it doesn't really go unnoticed at all. And so I'm so grateful for your time, and for who you are and what you've done in the industry, and I'm stoked to stay in touch.
Hell yeah, dude. It's been my pleasure to be on here. Definitely a lot of coordination for sure between all the time zones and shifts and all that stuff. But I'm glad to be on here and chop it up with you and shoot the shit about some in my opinion, some interesting stuff.
Jeffy boy, also pretty stoked to chat up with you today. Very proud of where you're at, where you've come from. You've grown up a lot and really impressed me. And it's crazy, still learning things from you and enjoying it. So great talking.